All right. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Unfiltered. I'm here with Tamor and Nazish. I know. I had like a little moment. We're also here with a special guest today. So, Imaan, I'm going to let you introduce yourself before we get started.
Sure. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Imaan. I'm currently a second-year graduate student at Northwestern, and I'm pursuing my master's in mental health counseling. I'm also a part of Project Taqwa, where I've co-facilitated a women's support group a couple months ago, and then also co-facilitating a discussion on grief and loss in a couple weeks. And then I'm also a part of the Illinois Muslim Civic Coalition and on their Next Generation board.
Dope, dope. We're actually super excited to have you today. I think you're going to be pretty good at this topic. So today we're going to be talking about self-love, right? So I want to let you start it off. So just in your like own words, right? Being like a second-year graduate student and having gone through like mental health courses, what do you feel like self-love is? Like, how would you define it?
Sure. So to me, self-love is kind of just showing yourself compassion and just being kind to yourself despite some of the faults and things that, we are kind of going through or we deal with. And then it's also something that I feel like can grow based on kind of just any spiritual growth, physical growth, mental growth that we, do it within ourselves. So something that can constantly be growing. But yeah, to me, that's what self-love is.
Yeah, I feel like those are pretty all-encompassing definition. Everyone that's not a guest for today, do y'all feel like, do you resonate with her definition? Do you guys feel like you have a different definition for what self-love is?
I do. I think as we get older, my definition has definitely changed. I think there was like a point where you kind of see self-care as just like taking care of your outer appearance. Mm-hmm. And then obviously as you get older, I think we're quick to understand that it's more than just that. It's like taking care of yourself mentally and physically and just other things. I think after we kind of start experiencing more, we kind of realize that it's more like a bit broader topic and broader just...
there's more to it.
There's more to it, yeah. So.
Yeah. I feel like I agree with you on that, right? Like I think growing up, I know you and I were having this conversation that like mental health for sure is a taboo conversation in like the Muslim community, but I feel like self-love is like, that's non-existent. Like nobody talks about that, so you growing up, if you're struggling with self-love, I feel like you don't even know the words to put to that because you don't know what it is. Yeah. And I feel like for me, my definition has grown from obviously like when I was a kid to now, but I think it's really grown from understanding what it's not, right? And I feel like for you guys, especially like not just tomorrow, I see you guys on social media all the time. I feel like you might resonate with this a lot. I feel like what it isn't is what you see on social media, right? I feel like it's so easy and quick to get wrapped up in what other people are doing and then not feel secure about yourself. Yeah. How do you agree? You see that?
Yeah. Social media is kind of contradicting. I feel like we all post pictures of ourselves, but you never know what like it is from
like the backstory.
Yeah.
And everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we just fail to realize that. Like we're just so quick to like assume that, like this is a happy post, like happy things are going on. There's something else to it. That's just all there is, and we just forget like in the moment like there's so much more that we don't know.
Yeah, because everyone posts like obviously not everyone's gonna post like the bad things that they're going through or like the negative things. So when they post something, we always just automatically assume that their life's perfect, they're always happy, or just things like that. So I think it's very contradicting, and it kind of can be like blinking, but it's basically contradicting. And I think what you guys said, I totally agree with.
Yeah, for sure. And I think especially too, with like culturally, I think also a lot of the times we don't necessarily feel like we should be talking about ourselves or, we're really supported in that aspect of kind of talking about ourselves and, seeking out help for our mental health. So I think just generally like seeing, those posts on social media and seeing that people are okay kind of also then doesn't really prompt us to go out of our way to ask somebody like, how are you doing?
Yeah.
You seem okay, but are you really okay?
Yeah.
Or even just pick up those small signs that we see here or there.
Yeah. I agree. Do you guys also feel like social media has you like comparing yourself to other people at all? Like for me, so like my birthday's on August 10th, right? So I share a birthday with like Kylie Jenner's a year older than me and John Morant's a year younger than me, right? So then I see that and it's like I see people older than me, younger than me, right around the same like group of people, but they're doing like such bigger things with their lives. And I feel like, am I really doing enough? Like am I doing all the things that I should be doing? Or even like you see like now with TikTok, like you'll see kids that are like popping off because they're like just dancing, doing dumb stuff, right? And you're like, damn, like am I doing everything I could be doing? I feel like that's something that comes up in mind a lot too. Do you guys feel that way, or am I just kind of in my own little corner?
No, I feel like everyone has that moment where they're just like, am I doing enough? Like, why am I not like on the same level as this other person? And I feel like we just need to remember that, like everyone just keeps going at their own pace. We're not all set to be on the same track all the time. You know, like things happen for us at our own time.
We all really do have like our highs and our lows. Like even the Kylie Jenners or the people, like the most good-looking people would have self-doubt and like low confidence at times, and they just don't even know it. You'd probably look at somebody and you'd be like, damn, she has like 2,000 likes. And she posts every day, 7 days a week. She probably has like such confidence, but like deep down she probably is just like maybe insecure or something.
Right, because social media essentially kind of gives rise to social expectation, right? So
Yeah.
if we see somebody who's super popular on social media living their life in a certain way, everybody just automatically thinks like, oh, my life should be this way
Right,
too, like
I
I
know.
should be doing that. When in reality, it's so different for every single person.
is.
But
Exactly.
you get that image of somebody online, and that just tells you like,
Yeah.
maybe I should be like that person. So
But that's the thing. I think we should realize that like social media is literally just a facade, and
Right.
we shouldn't take it as deep as we do. And I feel like that's our issue in our
Right.
community, especially and stuff.
Yeah, I feel like we focus on the destination, not the journey.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody goes to their own things. Everyone does things different. They do it in their own way. But we're so focused on like the end game of everything. You're just like, well, I'm not there yet. I think that's one of the big things with self-love, right? It's like being secure in everything that you're doing, being secure with who you are in your own skin. I feel like one of the points in like my life, and I feel like for everyone in general, is like high school. I feel like high school you really lack self-love.
Yeah.
Because you're so used to like seeing everyone, you're just like, well, I'm not doing this, this, and this. I don't look like this, this, and this.
Right.
And I feel like that's a place where a lot of like your self-love issues arise.
Yeah.
And it's either, I feel like from there it's kind of like sink or swim. Because you either figure it out, or for some people, like, they do go down a darker path and they don't figure it out. They're never really comfortable with themselves.
Yeah, that's straight facts. I feel like we're all kind of like in tears. Like I feel like there's like one group of people that are looking at another group of people and they're like, yo, I kind of want to be like him. And there's another group of people that are looking at another group of people, and then just like so on and so
Yeah, like we're all
on.
comparing. Like
Yeah.
it never ends.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we're insecurities and stuff.
Right, yeah, you see it prevalent in high school, but then you also see it so prevalent even like college and, just during your formative years in general. So I think it's like such a huge problem that kind of just, it does start in high school a lot of the times or even earlier, but then you kind of see it progressing a lot of the times and for a lot of people. And sometimes you just don't even know that, somebody's kind of going through that or they're struggling
Yeah.
with that, like especially when they've passed high school maybe,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still very prevalent.
I always think, I mean, like, we've had conversations about, like, social media and stuff before, but I always think, like, we grew up, obviously, like, in high school, we had social media, we had Instagram and stuff, but I always think, like, now, this generation, like, there's always going to be more. So now there's, like, TikTok, and just in, like, if you look at all the social media, I feel like people are more, at least with girls, like, I see this, like, where everyone just wants to top each other.
Yeah.
And I feel like
Everything's a
that
competition.
really affects your self-care or your self-love. Like everyone's starting to compare each other so much that I've seen this in like the high schoolers now and even middle schoolers and even like elementary school girls. I've seen like just this like they're so harsh on themselves because other girls are like, they think that they're prettiest, and then they're going on vacations and they have like the best life ever, and they're like, it's just so much, just so many things. And I think this whole social media thing plays such a big part in that. And I just like, it kind of like worries me to see like how it's going to be in the future. Because if it's already like this bad.
That's right in elementary school.
Yeah,
These
and
kids
like
are like that
I can't
now.
even imagine being that like worrying about this so much as like an elementary school, like being a 4th grader, 5th grader, even earlier, and you worrying about like, oh, like I don't think I'm that pretty, or like this person's living like the best life ever. Like you don't need to be worrying about that at that age, But unfortunately, so many girls and guys, I'm sure, are worrying about this and comparing themselves to each other. So it just kind of like, I always think about this randomly, but it makes me so sad. Like, I don't know.
And I think because of that, so many people are struggling with their mental health these days.
For sure.
I mean, a lot of people might not know, but it's very common, and with men and women too. Like you see it so prevalent, and a lot of it starts for those type of reasons. And just with that, advancement of social media, it's kind of starts kind of.
It's definitely more obvious with girls though. Like with guys, like I feel like you can't even tell half the time.
It's not as much with us.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, it's not.
Yeah, I feel like your self-love comes from, especially as a guy, I feel like it comes from your confidence, right? It comes from your, I feel like for a lot of us, it comes from like the image that other people have of you, yeah? Or would you disagree?
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Like I feel like your image changed a lot in high school when like you came back from Pakistan. Do you disagree?
No, okay, so he's trying to say, so I went to Pakistan for a whole summer, like all 3 months I was in Pakistan, and I came back and I was taller, I like lost weight, I grew up kind of, and then it kind of popped out more, and I got more friends, and then like just everything kind of fell into place for me. But yeah, like after that, just like things get better once you start. It's kind of like isn't it like you look good, you feel good, You feel good, you play good. Like that's a football or someone
something,
Deion
yeah.
Sanders said that, yeah. And then it's just a hierarchy. Just it all starts from like inside how you like.
But
Yeah.
it starts from you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, no one else, no matter how many people tell you you're pretty or, you know, you're going to be successful in life or this and stuff, you, like, literally the whole world can tell you, but until you yourself feel that way, you're not going to get anywhere. At least, why are you laughing?
No, 'cause you're like looking directly at me.
She's super passionate about it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think because I've experienced it, like, myself, and, like, I've kind of, there was a point where, like, in high school, you were so, at least for me, I was so dependent on, like, what other people have to say about me and, like, caring about other people.
Like their
whether it be
validation. and
Other
stuff.
validation.
Yeah.
But then after high school, I realized, like, I felt, like, the happiest when I myself was, like, confident and, like, either that be, like, physically or, like, mentally, emotionally, all of that stuff. Like, I felt like when I was able to tell myself, like, okay, you're doing fine, you know, you're whatever, like, you're, like, just having trust in myself that I'm, like, I'm fine, that's when I felt like, okay, I'm, like, happier, you know? And it sounds so, like, cliche, but that's, like, true, and that's why I'm, like, I really believe that no one can tell, like, no matter how many people tell you, like, give you validations, you won't feel it until you yourself believe it. So.
Yeah, and like major props too for coming to that realization, because
Yeah.
a lot of it's often really difficult to just, you know, be in a state of mind to kind of like realize that and finally
Yeah.
understand that because
Yeah.
of like all these different things that are, you know, really affecting us day to day. But
Yeah.
I think, you know, stuff like this, like just a discussion on self-love is so important, because I think like we were saying earlier, you know, a lot of people just don't even recognize what it is, or, you know, should we be talking about self-love? Like, why is it important? But, you know, just becoming more self-aware about these concepts and just talking about it more kind of gives rise to some more of those mental like states, you know,
Yeah.
just being more aware of who we are and what we are kind of looking for in ourselves and like who we are as a person. So it often just starts with that self-awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely agree.
I think we've definitely had like a good start on like what is self-love, right? And I think Anam and Iman, I think you guys have really hit like the importance of self-love. What do you guys feel like the consequences though? Because I definitely feel like you see people that don't practice self-love, right? And I feel like we've seen it in like our own friend circles. For me, I feel like one of the biggest ones is you kind of find your happiness in other people.
Yeah.
I think that really affects like your relationships and your friendships going forward. Whether that may be like an actual relationship, I'm sure you guys have all seen like the girl or the guy where once you tell them like, oh, you know, don't go back to so-and-so, they're not good for you, and then they still go back to that person,
Yeah.
right? I feel like that's one of those instances where you really see self-love, because it might not even be like that they genuinely like that person. It's just, you know, you're trying to find your happiness in somebody else. If you guys seen something like that, do you guys feel like there are other consequences in self-love?
Yeah, I feel like especially when we aren't really in tune with kind of, you know, what makes ourselves happy and what we're kind of genuinely looking for, we often do try to find that in other places, like try to find it externally. And I think the concept of self-love, and to really understand it, is that, you know, it is a very internal thing. So, you know, obviously like what people's expectations and what people say about you, it does affect you and it does influence, you know, your self-love. But at the end of the day, it does come from, you know, within, and it's something that we have to get accustomed to kind of telling ourselves and being okay with ourselves. So yeah, you know, I've definitely noticed, like, especially what you were saying, like those type of situations are very, very common, and like just finding, you know, happiness with something external, or, you know, a lot of the times it can lead to a lot of mental health issues, like whether it be like different forms of anxiety, depression, things like that. You see that on the rise because, you know, you just find it difficult to find happiness in other places.
And that's what I was going to say, that I think one of the biggest consequences I see is that people really end up taking a toll, like their mental health ends up taking a really, like, and you don't realize it, but then it slowly starts to build up, and you're like, well, I was from here to like now I'm like here, and again, it just causes a lot of problems in the long run. So I always say, like, it's just better to be, and I think also depends on like age and how early on like it's happened and just things like that. But the sooner you're able to kind of build yourself up and like have this confidence, I feel like it'll obviously help you a lot in the long run. But if you don't, then there's a lot of other problems that stem from it. So I think that's like one of the biggest consequences.
Right.
So, but
Do you guys feel like in your own experiences, like your lack of self-love has like bled into your friendships? Has that ever happened for you guys, or is it just something you see in other people? Because I feel like at some point we all do lack self-love. Like you're never really comfortable as who you are. Have you guys seen it with yourselves?
I just think I'm like just a bitter person. Like I think like I really do see it. Like if I'm not, like if I'm feeling a certain way, then I see it. Like if I'm either like talking to my parents, I'll just be like bitter for no reason, and I feel so bad. But like I really do see it in like either when I'm working, I won't be in like the best mood, And it really trickles down to everything. Like physically, I'll feel so sluggish. Mentally, I'll feel extremely exhausted. Even if I get like 9 hours of sleep, I'll feel so exhausted. I'll just, like, my mood just goes completely, like, like it switches over. And, like, you guys know I'm, like, a really bubbly person. So for me to completely go to that route where I'm, like, not talking to anyone, completely, like, silent, it, like, scares people around me. And it kind of scares me, too, because, like, I'm not like, it's not me. But it's crazy how much of a difference it makes, you know, to, like, myself physically, mentally, emotionally. It just, like, I don't like it. So, but I do see a difference, so.
Yeah, and I feel like your lack of self-love can also lead to like a lack of self-respect or self-worth. Like I know I've seen that with myself personally. Like in college, like I used to work retail, right? Like keep in mind, retail is like not my end career, but I would work it anyway. So I might have like a 4-hour shift, but when someone would be like, oh no, like you came in late or something, and I'd work another like 4 hours on top of that, and at that point it's kind of like I'm not respecting myself anymore. I don't think at that time I would have seen it as like, oh, I lack like self-love. I would have just seen it as like, oh, you know, I'm trying to be nice, like. So and so, I'm trying to make up for whatever it is, and I'm really trying to like hustle out here for whatever it is. But I think now looking back at it, it's just like, if I respect myself, I probably should have just told that person like I didn't respect the way they were talking to me, or B, like I didn't respect the fact that my 9 to 1 became a 9 to 7. You know, and I feel like when you don't have that self love, obviously it does lead to like that lack of confidence, and you don't want to avoid confrontations. But I feel like it just leads to so many other avenues that you just don't end up thinking about until like later on.
And like you were saying too, a lot of the times it's not, we're not even always cognizant about it. Like, you know, we just kind of make a decision based on other people or like what we feel like society maybe expects us to do. And then, you know, all of a sudden, you know, we find ourselves kind of doing something that doesn't necessarily make us happy or kind of hurts our own mental health. And, you know, and like I said, we don't even notice it until later on a lot of the times.
For sure. Iman, in your like experience, though, do you feel like that's kind of like is that just like a Muslim issue? Like we're just very like yes, 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 or do you feel like it's more of like an every person issue? Are they naturally just gravitating towards just saying yes and being there for other people, or is it more like as Muslims we're just like, is it a cultural thing?
I think from my experience, I've kind of seen it across the board but I would say that it's definitely, I think I've seen it more within my Muslim clients as opposed to people who aren't. I think maybe, and you know, I've thought of like, you know, why is this kind of more so prevalent within the Muslim community? Maybe, you know, what are some of the reasons behind it? And, you know, sometimes I kind of think about how maybe, you know, either culturally or maybe religiously, but maybe there's like that expectation of, you know, we do need to be there for other people. You need to, you know, help other people out and don't let other people suffer, that kind of thing. But it doesn't often leave a lot of room to be like, okay, well, what about me? Like, you know, let me think about myself and, you know, make certain decisions about myself that really help me out. And so I think often we kind of, you know, are geared towards making those type of decisions as opposed to not. So, you know, that's just my own speculation, but I think I definitely have noticed it more, I think, within the Muslim community a little bit more.
Why do you guys feel like it's like that? Because I feel like for all three of you, too, I would definitely say that you're very yes, yes, yes. Like, regardless, like, I've seen you be spread out thin, but I'll never get, like, a no out of you.
I think because, like...
No, go ahead, you go ahead.
I think, at least for me, I was not, like, always... you grow up always having to, like, getting taught to say yes to people, but you're kind of, like... I feel like it's kind of our culture where, like, you have to, like, you know, kind of do things for other people, and you kind of have to be there for others. So I think just from a very young age when you're taught this, it's very hard to escape it when you're older. So at least, like, for me, like, I completely agree with you. I think I say yes more than I, like, should, and I shouldn't, like... There are times where I should say no, whether it be work or school or favors for other people, but I just can't get myself to, and, like, I'm a very big people pleaser. And I always thought that, too, like, why am I like this, you know? But I think it is because just from a very young age, you're taught, like, to kind of be there for others and just things like that. So it's really hard to escape it. So at least, I don't know, that's kind of, like, what I think. So what about you?
I wouldn't say that, like, me saying yes, like, not being able to say no to certain things is, like, me not having, like, that self-love for myself. I just seeing other people happy is what makes me happy. Like, that's just how I am as a person. Like, I don't think more of it. Like, I don't think, I can genuinely say I don't think I've taken too much, like, on my plate ever that I feel like I regret doing it. That's just how I am as a person. Like, I like doing that for other people.
Yeah, because I think also just in that respect, too, I think what what self-love kind of encompasses is just you can also have a regard for other people.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what I think is like a huge difference between the concept of like self-love and selfishness is because like with self-love, I think there is a huge amount of space to kind of be there for other people while you're there for yourself.
Yeah.
Whereas being selfish, you don't often have a regard for other people and the decisions you make. So I think that those two terms are like very separate.
Yeah, I think that's a dope transition to a different topic that I feel like a lot of people have. I think when people feel like they're saying no, they feel like they're being selfish, right? But I don't know. I don't think you could ever be selfish with your own time, right? Like no one else is entitled to that. Like that is your time.
That's true.
I also feel like selfishness is for sure like it's a negative trait. I don't think self-love is like it's seen as very narcissistic, but I don't think it is narcissistic.
It's not. Because self-love is like literally just has to do with you. It's not, it doesn't have to do with anybody else.
Exactly,
It's literally within yourself, like your own state of mind and all that. So you saying no to somebody isn't really like it's because like I'm being selfish, like I don't care for you or something like that. It's just like.
But it's because society makes you think.
Yeah,
like,
it does.
They have like this implication, like saying no and stuff. Like I used to do that a lot. Like when I used to work retail too. If I worked like a long shift and someone asked me like, "Oh no, can you take my shift?" I have to like and I know they would be lying, like I have to go take care of my pet or whatever. I'll be like,
Take care of my
okay,
pet.
I'll take your shift. And I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? Like I haven't ate like for the whole day. I haven't slept all day, but I'm still here taking your shift when I know you're like. It's crazy how. At least for me, I think like, oh, like I'm trying to do someone a favor, and like there's just so many moments where I'm like, I just wish I said no so I could have taken care of myself. But I think it's just like you don't want people to think you're being selfish or you're being rude or you're not being like, or like you sometimes, I don't know if you guys have experienced this where maybe someone needs to take like your shift so they say yes. And then you're like, oh, now I owe them a favor, so I have to say yes, So there's just been a lot of, like, things like that, at least for me, where I just end up saying yes, and I do it, and then I regret it, and so, but.
Retail-wise, I'm having, like, severe PTSD from what you're saying. For sure, I'm having some crazy PTSD. I remember there's this one shift, so I came in the morning. This is right before I was a manager. Yeah. So I'd worked 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., right? I'm done for the day. Like, I have school the next day, whatever. I willingly then chose because someone texted me, they're like, oh, I have an emergency. I didn't even bother asking what the emergency was, but I was like, all right, for sure. Like, what's your shift? Oh, I need to do an overnight from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Okay, yeah, I guess I'll do that for sure. And I vividly remember the next time I asked that person to cover my shift, right? Like, you would think, like, I just did you this favor, 8 hours overnight. You, like, do the least for me. Yeah. Is it 3 p.m. to 7 p.m.? You don't even have to close. Nah, man, I can't do it. I have so much going on. How?
And that's why I always think maybe it's culturally, too. Like, if I, like, obviously I didn't work with any, like, Muslim or even, like Desi people, I guess.
I never saw it in my Muslim coworkers. If I told my Muslim coworker I needed something picked up, no questions asked, for sure. What is it?
Why, again, I always think it's maybe culturally, because if I ask someone who's, like, not, around, like, our community or our Desi or whatever, they'll say no. And I'm like, I just did you this huge favor. And I've done it multiple times, but you can't say, yeah, sure, even half the shift I'll take for you, so.
I was kind of going to piggyback off what Anam said, like, 10 minutes ago. Yeah, like it really is like I think as Desis we're all kind of raised similarly, or I don't know what it is, but we've all kind of have like the same traits, and we're all very nice, honestly. So we're like really like we really are raised similarly as compared to everyone else.
Really selfless, yeah.
And I think it kind of speaks to how the concept of self-love is so different in different communities, different cultures. It's like, something we may deem as, something we're doing good for ourselves or others may be completely different from what other people think. So I think it's important to recognize that, it's so different for everyone.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things is, like, if you're someone that's struggling to say no, I wouldn't say that's necessary. Like, do you feel like that's necessarily indicative of not having self-love? Like, I know we're definitely making it sound like it is. I don't think that's, like, the biggest, like, key indicator, though. Like, what do you think are, like, key indicators that someone is lacking in the self-love department?
Well, like, if somebody is, like, you're saying that, like, noticing in somebody else. That
like, say you're trying to make a decision on whether a friend isn't, like, obviously, like, not directly, like, you're not going to go up to them and say it, but you're trying to, like, notice, like, the signs, right? Like, yeah, maybe they're not taking enough time out of their day for themselves. Like, what are those, like, indicators for you that someone's just lacking from self-love instead of being something much more serious?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, of course it's so different for everyone, but I think some of the small things you could notice, or maybe that I can say that I've noticed in people is, like, sometimes people will make small comments here or there that you'll see, that'll be very indicative of, their either like overworking themselves or like there's like something that, they're struggling with and they don't want to outwardly say it, but sometimes they'll make a small comment that you can kind of pick it up if you're very like aware of it. So I've seen that a lot where people like sometimes throw those in. So that's something I've seen. I don't know if you guys have seen anything else.
I feel like for me, it's just, I feel like I always, and this is definitely an assumption on my part, but I always assume that someone lacks self-love when like they're not respectful of themselves. You know what I mean? Like I feel like always, whether it be with like, I feel like for me it always relates back to the concept of like toxic friendships.
Yeah.
If I feel like I've heard you talk bad about someone, but you're constantly going back to them, then in my head I feel like maybe there's something wrong. Because if I've heard you willingly say like, you don't like so-and-so, but then I also see you like they're on your Snap story, they're on your IG story, you're like parading them around, then I kind of feel like, man, maybe something's up. And obviously I feel like that's also like, how do you approach someone to talk about that?
Yeah.
Is there a way?
Well, I think first of all, just kind of, I like that you kind of brought that to light, because I think in those type of situations, a lot of people might just be quick to jump and be like, oh, well, that person is just very like hypocritical, like they're saying something, but they're doing another thing. Like we kind of jump on like the negatives when, maybe we could take as a community or, as a group, take a step back and be like, well, what is really, the issue, are they struggling with something that I don't know about? Like, should I ask? Like, so I think it's first really important to like not to jump to conclusions or maybe jump to a negative. And in terms of like bringing it up to somebody, I think that can also very much differ on like our relationship with the person, because if it's somebody you're close to and you can more easily have honest conversations with, like it's easier to be more direct and be like, are you okay? Is something wrong? Can I help you? Or you can even be like, you seem off today, something to bring up the conversation. But if it's someone you're not that close to or maybe can't have like as honest of a conversation, then I think it's really important to not kind of either jump on the negative. And what I mean by that is we don't have to necessarily come out and be like, you seem off today, or you look a little strange today, or like, we're kind of highlighting those negative qualities, when instead something we can do is maybe offer them some positive affirmations and be like, oh, well, you seem like, just like highlight some positive qualities about them, maybe just to bring them up a little bit, because, maybe they just don't want to talk about what they're going through. And like, and especially when you don't know the person that well, you don't want to, make them talk about something they don't want to. So sometimes it can just help to hear some negative qualities, positive qualities about them.
Well, that's really true.
I really like that.
I like that too. Yeah, I never really thought about that.
This show looks really flattering on you.
Thank you.
I feel like, I think that's tough. I think that's definitely like one of those things that's just really hard to, do you feel like you could see guys doing that?
Doing what exactly?
Positive affirmations. It felt weird to tell you that your shirt looked good.
Yeah.
All jokes aside. Even if it was a joke.
Guys, no, we don't do that.
Yeah, like, how do you, like...
I feel like if you see a guy doing that, you guys just like immediately think like, oh, like, why is he saying
joke,
that? Like,
or, like,
they're so soft.
Did
and
you
stuff
take it
like
as a
that,
joke right now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Are we laughing?
I mean, exactly, that's my point.
That
That was the point. I feel like it's hard as a guy to give positive affirmation, right? Like, I feel like for you guys are so good at hyping each other up.
Yeah.
You guys are too good at it. It's like natural for you guys, honestly.
I guess then in that situation too, like especially if it's hard to give positive affirmations, a lot of the times it, like without having to like, bring up those like negative things, as I was saying before, another way could just be, finding subtle ways to let your friend know that you're there for them. Like or that you're available if they ever do want to talk. So you don't have to like kind of force conversation or anything, but you can at least, do small things to make them kind of know that you're there. So if you ever do want to talk, like I'm here for you, but you don't have to. So you don't necessarily have to go out of your way to like be positive to them, but like just having that reassurance can help people too.
Okay. For sure.
I want to touch back on what Masani said. He said that girls are really good at like hyping each other up, but also
Bro,
at the same time.
I'll scroll through your 70. I'll go to your last IG post, Naj. I'll scroll the last 77 comments you have, and I'll be like, oh my God, mashallah, so beautiful.
Listen, but girls are also very quick.
Tell me I'm wrong though.
That's true. That's very true. But girls are also very quick to bring each other down too. Yeah. I've noticed that, but guys like you guys don't really have
That's
that,
true.
which is good.
We don't do that.
That's really good. Yeah, we have two extremes. It's not.
I think that also affects like your self-image of yourself.
It does.
Because I think once you know that someone's being fake to you, then I think it also makes you question. But I think some people just aren't as secure with themselves in general, and that is what it is. At the end of the day, that's the point you are in your journey, right? Like you'll get there. It'll take some time, but you'll eventually get there. But I think when you know people are being fake to you and you have to question everyone's like intentions, then I think it makes things really hard.
But that's also like that that wake up call for you too. Like once you realize that person's being fake to you, like you kind of you start questioning it. You dig deeper and you try to find like why are you like taking that from them too at the same time?
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So I feel like that's like the wake up call that you get.
That's
and
true.
I feel like sometimes you do need like these bad things to happen to make you realize like what you're lacking in and make you like more aware of like, hey, like I've been taking all this when I actually shouldn't have.
it like makes you ask questions to yourself, like, why am I so hurt by like a
Right.
negative comment that someone that I don't even know that well is saying? Like, then you start like saying, okay, like maybe it's some like I need to start building up my own
It's
confidence.
a deep-rooted issue.
And like again, I feel like going back, I feel like when you, again, I'm going to say this again because I really believe in this, but when you have self-confidence, even when people do say anything negative about you, I feel like it doesn't bother you.
It won't phase you at all.
It won't phase you. And I think that's like the biggest thing for me going from high school to like college and after is it's like in one ear out the other for me now. And that's why like it's just crazy from one switch of just not being confident and like taking in like all these negative comments and like even like small things people would say, I would get so triggered by it and so upset by it, from just like, okay, like I'm living my life, I know I'm doing like, you know, I'm giving my 100%, like I'm fine with how I look, I'm fine with what I do, I'm fine with where I'm working, what I'm studying, like all of that. When you're content with yourself, I feel like nothing people say do matters. So
actually, I have a story.
Self-confidence is a big thing. Yes,
I actually have a story to like touch on that. So I was like, if you look back at like how I was in middle school and high school, I was that huge people pleaser. Like, I want everybody to like me. I don't want you to have like a problem with me. I don't want you to say anything bad about me. Like, you know, I was that person. And even like for a good time in college too, like I wanted everyone to like me. I was that huge people pleaser. And I would do this thing where I would, like, I wouldn't want to offend anybody by saying what I had to say. So I thought that my, like, speaking out, using my voice was, like, you know, I didn't want to, like, I don't want to, like, contradict you or anything like that. Because at least, like, the friend groups that I was around, like, disagreeing, I don't know, I guess that led to, like, conflict. And I've noticed that, like, disagreements aren't just, like they're not deeper. They're not, like, deep. They're not as deep. Like, you know, like, if you disagree with somebody, that's just how it is. But, like, some people take it differently than others. But, yeah, I would always, like, constantly leave my voice out to appease that one person, and then people like saw me doing it constantly, and yeah, I know it was my fault, but I also like noticed that people wouldn't allow for anything different either at the same time. Like if they did, like, you know, see me trying to, like, you know, get my voice here and there, they'd see it as like, oh my god, like, why is she acting like that, you know? Because they were so used to me not having anything to say to begin with. But like you said, like as time went by, I was just like who cares what people think? Exactly. Like I don't. Why should I care? And you know, like even like your closest friends will have something negative to. I mean, not even your closest friend, but like your friends. You know, like your friend group, they will have something negative to say about you. But those who really, really know you, like your closest friends, your family, like they know how you are. They're gonna respect that. They'll take that, and you know how you are too. So I guess you just. Like, you're just in tune, you're in tune with yourself. Like, the others, like, they get how you are. Like, the people that matter, they know how you are. So, I think at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
I feel you.
And that was, like, a huge issue that up until, I'd say, like, a couple of months ago I was dealing with. I was literally that person that would not voice my own opinions or any of that because I would have to, like, appease everybody else around me.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, right now you got Nazish throwing phones at
What do
you.
you mean? Interesting. I'm being honest.
No.
What was that? I was gonna say like you really, if you without self-love, like you can't really like love somebody else, like friends and stuff. Just you can't have love for other people without having that self-love. In my opinion.
Yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Isn't
really
that saying?
is important. Yeah, I think it is. I
it's
butchered
saying.
it, but it's definitely a saying.
It's all good. I'm pretty sure it's a saying. I want to ask you as a question. I do want to transition to one more thing, but I wanted to ask you as a question, right? Coming back to Timur's story about weight loss, I feel like
Why
in terms
did
of
you say it like that?
What do you mean?
No,
how many other ways were you gonna say that?
Sonny, ask the question.
I was gonna say like no, I agree with Timur, right? Like I feel like self-love for me, like so Timur did it, and then like I saw the love he got, and I was like, you know, I gotta do it too. And then so going into senior year, what are you doing?
No, sorry.
Yeah, I feel like in terms for like guys, like especially when you're like a heavier guy, I feel like weight loss really increases like your confidence, right? And like your body image, like your self like reflection in terms of that really increases like your confidence, and that goes really directly into self-love. Do you guys feel like, is that a thing for you guys? Or
Oh my god, yeah.
Okay.
Body image is like such a big thing for girls.
And it's just getting worse.
What's so funny?
It's the audience. It's the audience reaction to the question.
Yeah.
I mean, no. Like, I feel like some people don't care. Like, some people
No, girls,
like, I don't care.
especially like if you look at girls in high school, middle school, like, oh my god, that was such a big thing when I was
Yeah,
that area.
I would say even like, within the field, like I definitely see body image as being such a huge issue with men and women. Like, and I feel like a lot of people might not recognize that, men deal with it a lot too, but I think it's super, super prevalent, and I've definitely seen my fair share of like, both.
For sure. I needed to
Yeah.
have an answer.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do want to transition to one more thing before we wrap up today. Ways to practice self-love. Like, how do you do it? What are ways you've seen that are effective? Because in general, I feel like we always try to lead these episodes off with some sort of advice.
Yeah.
But self-love is one of those things that I feel like no matter how much advice you get, like
It's
a
different
journey.
for everybody. Like,
It's a journey.
Until you go through it yourself, you're not going to get it.
Yeah.
And it's not something that's just going to happen overnight,
No.
So
Yeah, and I think there's different paths for every single person, like how you guys were talking about, and how it was something that came to you after a while. Like
Right.
it took some time. A lot of people, it might take some time, and they might just not even be able to fully do it themselves. And that's why we have like mental health resources available for people to seek out and use those things to help us. But I think like self-love falls very hand in hand with self-care, and just doing different things to promote self-care. And that can, be so many different things. Like I can say for myself, something that I do is like if I'm ever having like a bad mental health day, or like a day that I'm more down on myself or feeling upset, like I'll sometimes just take mental health days for myself. And that could be like just sitting in bed all day, like watching Netflix all day, or like just doing whatever I think I need to just recuperate and like just, get myself together. And I'll even tell my friends if I'm supposed to, hang out with them one day, I'll be like, oh, today I just need a mental health day, and like, I need to rest. So I think it's so important to kind of, give ourselves that time to feel if we're feeling upset or, down, just give ourselves that space to just, feel those emotions and kind of be present with ourselves. And, just be easy on yourself. Like, don't be hard on yourself. Like, whatever you're feeling, the emotions that are kind of coming up, just let yourself feel them and let yourself experience it. Because sometimes that's what you need to, pass certain hurdles. Because I will say, I think something that can be really hard on our mental health is when we avoid and we, put aside a lot of things that we're going through, whether it be problems, like emotions, feelings. If we avoid it or if we push it aside, it'll always come back.
It doesn't work.
It'll come back in some way, shape, or form. It might not even come back in like, a mental way. Like you might not get those feelings again. Sometimes it even like physically you'll like feel tense in certain places, or like it'll always come back. So sometimes it's just important to like let yourself feel and give yourself that space and just be easy on yourself.
Yeah, I really like that point you made, because I feel like for guys a lot, like if you have like that bad day, you're gonna take that imaginary bottle and you're gonna shove it inside the bottle, and eventually like once the bottle overfills, you're just gonna go get a bigger bottle. But at some points I feel like you'll still get to the point where you're fed up and you lash out at someone else. Like I've seen that either whether it be at work, with friends, whatever, that I know that so-and-so's been having like a rough couple days, weeks, months, whatever, and then they lash. And then you don't, like, you never have that time of day to, like, try and figure out where they happen, because at that point you're just offended.
Yeah, and even how you say, like, in terms of, like, guys, maybe it's harder to speak to, like, a lot of what we're going through, or maybe, like, experience emotions. But, like, I remember I one time had a male client who he was kind of going through something similar, and he would just eventually, like, by bottling things in and avoiding things, he started getting, like, physical pain. Like, he would just be very tense in places. Like, he just, like, his muscles would be hurting. He wouldn't know why. And it's just, like, physically holding in that stress and those negative emotions can even manifest physically.
Yeah, it comes back to you.
Yeah, it comes back
in one way or another.
I didn't know that. I did not know that was a thing.
Yeah, so it's important to recognize that, when you're avoiding things, they really don't go away.
Yeah, that kind of like touched someone, and said like she was like, oh, I feel like super sluggish, like that comes back to like it affects you in so many different ways.
Right, and you might not even be like cognizant.
Yeah, you won't even you won't even be
yeah.
conscious of like okay, like I don't know why I feel this way, but you're just like I'm just having an off day, but you don't realize that maybe that's why.
Yeah.
You touch back on it, and then you're like, okay, that's why I'm feeling off.
Right. So yeah, it manifests in like so many different ways.
For sure. Do you guys have any stories on how you practice self-love? Is that like your own personal thing?
Shopping.
Emphasize what?
Shopping. Are you?
For you? Yeah, for me,
oh,
yeah,
okay,
shopping.
for sure.
Working out, anything related to that. Just I like my me time.
I love alone time.
If I'm down,
yeah.
like,
I love alone time. I feel like I'm too in tune with myself
myself
too. Sometimes I'm just like I take too much time for
Yeah,
myself.
alone time is so underrated.
I know, but it's really important, and I do that so much, and it's like okay, I should maybe stop.
Yeah.
So I actually like to journal.
Yeah.
And
I do.
really,
yeah, I do.
So I really like to journal. What's so funny?
Why are they laughing? I'm so
Nothing.
tired of
Nothing.
Guys can journal too.
Yeah.
Dude, no. Oh, none of you were freshmen at DePaul. I was gonna say like that's the thing. They hand you a journal. They're like, write your emotions in this.
Yeah.
And then like the teacher collects it. Dude, no, the teacher collects it during midterms week and reads it. I'm like, damn.
That's weird.
No, it's so weird.
I want no teacher reading my
You just let
emotions.
everything out. You
Yeah.
know, like
That's just
So
messed up.
I don't I have a thing where I always feel like not everyone's going to understand what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling. So instead of talking to people, even though I try to do that sometimes, I just like to write it all out.
I like to write it all too. I don't like talking to people. I don't, because it kind of like clouds your vision to it.
Yeah,
and
then
I
you
would
start
just rather.
thinking, oh, they probably don't understand what I'm trying to say, and they probably think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
So I just write everything out, and the most fun thing for me is going back and reading that.
Yeah.
And kind of being like, okay, this is kind of what I did to make myself feel, but like this day I was sad, the next day I journaled I was happy. What happened during that time where I was able to kind of make myself feel better.
You like reading back? I look back and I'm like, why was I so...
Okay, not high school though. Like,
no, not high school, but like...
now.
Okay, yeah.
I've been journaling for a very long
I
time.
have 2 for years.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's so cool.
Oh my god. All right.
Let us have our moment with that.
I am. I didn't even stop your moment.
Yeah, we definitely did not stop you.
Yeah, right?
Moment,
We're letting
man.
it have it.
It's super
Unfiltered.
helpful.
Yeah, we're all about love here.
So
Yeah.
I journal, so...
Damn.
No, like, I mean, that's something I tell
shop.
my clients a lot too. Is like
Shopping
journaling
does
is
help,
super,
though.
super helpful, I think.
Yeah.
He looks so like...
No, I started,
like, really?
I,
Is it?
I don't journal. Well, I think
Timur writes poetry.
I-
So.
Oh yeah, Timur's poetry.
no. Okay, I do journal. No, I journal like once every like 6 months. Like when it's something like important happened, I think I write. I used to write it down. I haven't wrote down in the journal in like 2 years though.
Yeah, everybody has their own self-care ways, you know.
Do you have a
like,
journal?
No. But
No?
for me, I feel like you've seen it. I feel like when I get really upset and down, so I used to do this in high school a lot. I was just a little, I don't know, I was dumb. But I would turn my phone off. That would be the first thing, right? So I'm like cut off from everybody else. So then I definitely have my alone time. I'd walk to Laramie, headphones plugged in, and I would just shoot around the basketball court. And I like when my headphones plugged in, it had to be sad music. Like, it couldn't be hype music. I didn't want to feel up. I needed to have like just a bad day, and then tomorrow I'd wake up and be like, all right, yo, fresh day. So like that was my thing. But it worked. It did its thing. I made it here, so it definitely worked.
Yeah, you know, there's different things for
Whatever
different
works for
people.
you.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, it's important, again, that we're having this conversation about self-love, because I think once we kind of recognize what self-love is and what we deem as self-love, and just become more aware of what we, you know, what works for each of us, then it'll help us come up with our own, like, you know, coping techniques or, like, you know, our own self-care methods. So different things work for different people, and I think it's good to get ourselves to be more aware of it.
Yeah. With that said, I think that is the end of a very, very good convo. Imaan, thank you so much for being on. I appreciate it. I feel like you gave so much insight. We're sitting over here trying to figure out how mental health equates to pain.
I'm trying to figure out how you listen to music with your phone turned off.
Oh,
Same thing, but I didn't
yo, low key. Okay, I tweaked. I meant like airplane mode. Okay,
All right.
but back to the
I was
top.
like-
Airplane mode. Your music is downloaded. You're good to go.
you
Backing
got
up
it.
to the
You got a
topic.
Walkman.
I didn't want to derail the conversation.
Back in. All right.
He brought it up.
Okay,
Great
I'm
minds
glad
think
we
alike, me and Nazish.
clarified that. Imaan, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you.
Guys, we made it to this point. Imaan's got that discussion coming about grief with Project Taqwa. Do you want to plug the date? Because I kind of forgot. But
Yes, I believe, oh my gosh, I'm so bad. I don't even remember the date, but I think it's September 6th. So it's like that first weekend of September.
Yeah.
So the Sunday.
So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
have it.
Right.
Yeah.
So for sure, tune into that. With that said, thank you guys for listening. And we'll see you next time.
Peace.